What's going on YouTube? This is Rob with Its Playable Golf. I'd like to welcome you to the first episode of our course guide series, in which we'll be taking you on a hole-by-hole tour of the Greenway Park Golf Course in Broomfield, Colorado. This course is a par 3 golf course that's owned and operated by an HOA that's surrounding the entire golf course. So the clubhouse at Greenway Park Golf Course is it's actually the community clubhouse for the residential neighborhood there. So you're not going to get a typical clubhouse experience. It's more like the back door office that you go into just check in. You can buy you can buy some balls and tees there, but you can't get food or drinks or anything like that. So Greenway does have a small driving range, if you can call it that. It's got like 2 spots for hitting, and it's very short. It's only about 150 yards, I think. I don't know the exact distance, but if you're hitting anything longer than an 8-iron, or you're sculling like a 9-iron, you'll probably end up putting a golf ball through somebody's windshield as they're driving by. So I would use it more just as a warm-up range for hitting like a sand wedge or maybe even a pitching wedge if you don't hit it that far. So moving on to the first hole, this wouldn't be our first episode without any kind of technical difficulties, which is of course what we had. After I got back, I realized that the first tee shot wasn't recorded. So what I'm going to do is try to explain my thoughts of that hole and kind of what I experienced. And I'll throw a quick map just so you can get a bird's eye view of what this hole looks like. And then we'll pick up, closer to the green. But we were there around 1 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. There was virtually nobody there because it was a little bit colder of a day, like high 40s, low 50s. And I was expecting the ball not to travel as far as it normally would based on the cold, but it went about as far as I normally hit it, so that was fun. The pin was placed at about 140, so I grabbed my 9-iron, which goes about 150, thinking it's not going to go as far, and I ended up hitting the backside of the green, and I think it got a good kick. My thoughts of why I was going with the higher club was that the slopes of the course there, or the greens, they slope towards you. So if you hit on the back side of the green and you got a little bit of spin, it will actually come back towards you or back towards the pin. So that's kind of what I was going for there. But I hit the back side, so just off the green, it slopes down pretty quickly. And if you go a little bit too far, you'll hit that slope and it just kicks an extra 10 yards. So it ended up going about 160, so I was about 20 yards left to go, and now I'm having to pitch or chip onto a downhill green. So you'll see in the next clip or so that it's gonna start rolling quickly. So I think from there we'll just pick it up just off the green. Last couple times I've played here, I actually had some trouble hitting out of the fairway or the rough because of how thick it is. But it's like it doesn't look thick when you're in there, but then when you're trying to hit it, it is. So you're almost better off just kind of chopping down at it. But you got to be careful here because the way that the green slopes, you don't want to get it rolling too much. Little sand wedge. Just try to chop it out of here and let it roll down. Well, actually it's sitting up pretty nicely. Might be able to get a little flopper. Let's just try to chop it first time. Now, see, there's rolling. Yeah. Should have went with the flopper. So I'm going 60 degree here. Just want to roll it up there, maybe a little bit more right so it comes back down. Again, just a little, actually, no, let's go a little heel high, almost like a putting stroke. Wow. It's one of those, that's what I was saying about that rough. It's so thick, it just kind of snags. Let's go putter. Oh, a little soft. I'm gonna finish it off for, fuck, double, triple. Wind picking up a little bit here. It's coming directly at me. So this is about 136. Looks like 16 feet down. So it should play about 120, but because of the wind, I'm going to play a pitching wedge. Try to go 130. Go to the actual distance here. This tee box is much better. Not as messed up as the last one. Pins in the back center. Let's just try not to oversend this one, because if you oversend these holes, there's a slope on the back and it'll just keep rolling. Front of green, pretty good. The front of the green is a good spot to be in, you know, since we're putting. You know, nice little lag putt up and then finish it off for par. Again, really, really good condition for the fairways here. Green speeds seem to be about average on the last one. We'll see how it is on this one too. The bunker on the left there looks a little hard. We'll check out the bunkers on another hole. The roughs will be pretty consistent around all the courses though. Green looks like it's in great condition too. But yeah, so on this one and a lot of the other ones too, careful about going over, because they all slope up, you can see here, and then they slope down in the back real quick. So even if you hit that back rough, it'll go an extra like 10, 20 yards just because of the kick. I feel like the greens are relatively normal, not too fast, not too slow. So nice little whack to get it up there. That was way too hard. And it's actually stopping perfectly. So maybe the greens are a little bit slower than I thought. I'm like a foot and a half away, so I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this off. Well, 2 feet actually. There's a little par for you guys. All right, Sydney's gonna finish off the hole real quick, and then we'll move on to the next part, third hole. It's pretty short. All right, so, and my watch keeps turning off the freaking range. Getting about 80 from here. Like I said, sand wedge, it's probably good. Just a nice little 3/4. Unless you really want to smack the hell out of it, go with the lob, I would say. This one's a little bit better if you accidentally overshoot it. It's pretty flat in the back. Like I said though, nice little 3/4 sand wedge should do you nicely here. It'll do me nicely at least. And that's money. Yeah, so this one has a very, very, very small fairway, obviously because it's so short. That's going to be a lot of these, you'll see. Let's let Sydney go real quick. Oh, but that was a great shot. Stop. Looks like you're like on the border of the fringe. I just want to check out this bunker real quick. See if it's like super soft or hard or whatnot. Yeah, it's a little hard. I'd say like half and half maybe. Not too hard, not too soft. Kind of right in the middle there. But we are on the green. So we'll be putting. All right, it's like a little bit right to left. Assuming a little bit slower of a green. Oh, so close. That was for birdie. I'll take the par though. I really like this next hole here. It's got a little water hazard on the right, and the pin is directly behind a tree. So what you want to do here is actually try to elevate it over that tree, or maybe just to the left of the tree. Pin's right behind it right now, so for this pin location, over the tree is the move here. Sign says about 110. I'm getting 105, 102 playing 105 to the center, and it is maybe a little bit back, so maybe like 110. If you're not super experienced though, aim left, go over the fairway, avoid that water. You're better off chipping in from the fairway if you can't get there, or if you don't have the accuracy either. Percentage play is always the better play. A little left. It is a little cooler out, so it will go a little shorter, but I don't know. There's not really much wind anymore, which is nice. Look at this fairway. It doesn't look like it's been touched. Oh, there's actually a little bunker back here I didn't see before. Looks like some people have been hitting in there. Again, looks softish. Let's check it out real quick. Oh yeah, it's a little harder here. The other one was a lot softer. So we just got a little putt downhill. Pin is tucked in that little corner there. Put up on that left side, let it roll down a little bit. Again, just try to get it close. Look at that roll. Go in. And finish her off uphill, slightly right to left. And I fucking missed it. Well, never gonna sink them all, guys. Hole number 5, sign says 145, 142 to the center, 156 to the back, playing about 5 yards long. I think this is going to be I really should hit the 9 here, but I'm tempted to do a strong pitch because this is one of those holes where if you go over, you are screwed. This whole side is fucked. Or try to keep it PG, I guess. This whole side is messed up. Left side's pretty good though. Pin's on a little bit just left of center, so my natural draw should actually help me out here a tad. Over water if you're playing from the men's. Don't worry about the water though, don't even consider it. That's all right. I'm in the bunker. That's fine though. Now we can see what it's like to hit out of these bunkers. Again, fairway's really great condition. I haven't been really going over the width because they're all par threes. If I was a beginner player, I'd say these are pretty nice and wide though. You know, nothing too difficult. But we'll see how this rough is when we get, or not the rough, sorry, sand. See how the sand is when we get over there. Because that first little spot we looked at seemed pretty soft, and the second one was harder. This one over here actually looks like there's a moisture in the center, so I'm hoping we're not going to get that same situation. All right, well, not too bad. About the center of the sand here. Oops. There. Okay, so we just got to lift this one up. I generally prefer just to use the sand wedge around here because the lob wedge can get a little hairy from time to time, but I feel like we're going to need to pick it out of here. Looks a little wet in the center, like I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be. Sand's a little hard. All right, so, you know, honestly, the sand's hard enough. You could probably just use a putter, putt it right on out of here, but I don't like doing that. Try to get a little floppy little thing in here. At least the wrists early. I'm out a little hot, but we're on the green at least. I don't know if you can see it from there. Let's see. So, not a bad spot. We'll be putting for par here. And I will not be unhappy with a bogey. That seems pretty good. All right, so this is definitely left to right. Pin high, so I just kind of let it roll back. There's like a little leaf up there. I think that's my aim point. Maybe just a little left of that. Super close. But bogey it is. All right, hole number 6. It's about 100. I'm gonna go with the 52 here because I just like a nice little 3/4 swing. Looks back actually, so maybe a little longer. 115 to the back. So actually a full gap will get you there. Nice and straight. There's water surrounding on the back, but you know, as long as you don't shank the shit out of it or hook it, it should be fine. I mean, there's so much room, especially if you're a shorter hitter or a beginner hitter. You got so much room left and right. For more experienced golfers, definitely don't try to shank it here. It's a little left. Yeah, so I'm on the left side of the green there. Pin's on the right side, so not ideal. But at that distance, we're looking at par. So, looks like Sid's just off the green in the rough there. She was having a little trouble in the rough, and I told her about just trying to chop at it a little bit. She's been hitting it a lot better, it looks like. But yeah, so this rough, I just want to reiterate it. It's deceptively thick. Like, it's not very tall, but it just, whatever the grass type is, it just snags the face of your club. So, see, like that? That's perfect. Exactly what you want to do right there. A little choppy shot down on it, and then just let it roll up. All right, so pretty straight until the very end. Then it's a little left to right. Green speeds, I think they're a little slower than like your average golf course. Scale of like 1 to 10, maybe like a 4. I want to go just left of that little dot, little dark spot there. And I'm way right of it. Well, close enough still that we can finish it off for par. All right, so this is the longest hole on the course here. About 200, 205 it says. I try to play it like it's 210 because it slopes back up a little bit. Most people who play here treat this as a par 4. But it's protected by a little trap right in front here, so you're actually better off going a little longer. I'm hitting a 5 hybrid, which goes 220 on average. Sometimes 230. Hot day. But this should get right up there. A little left, should be good though. Looks like we're front left of the green. So this one, since it's pretty long, and I said like a lot of people like to play it as like a par 4. This one's green or fairway. It's pretty narrow if you're hitting the driver, but it's long fairway for a par 3 specifically. I'd say it's probably like 50 feet, 50 yards wide. Nice thing is you got slope on the right, slope on the left, so it'll kind of corral your ball a little bit if you hit a little bit of a slice or a hook. You just don't want to go too left because you got the street over there, so trying to avoid property damage. Fairway's in great condition again, which is great for the time when it is. I've been here, you know, a couple times I've been here, I don't think I've ever actually seen a bad fairway now I'm thinking about it. All right, so I didn't get any rollout. On that one. Hit the green and just planted and rolled back. So I had a serious amount of backspin on it. Greens are a little soft too, so that probably contributed a pretty good amount. I'm going literally to the other side of the green here, so looks relatively flat, maybe a little right to left, so I'm just going to put it across there, see if we can get it close. Ooh, that was bad. Pushed it real bad. I was looking at a possible par, but this is looking like a bogey now. I just need to get it close, about 20 feet away. My ball is dirty. I need to clean it. So close. Bogey it is, though. It's fine. I'll take a bogey. Like I said, keep on pace. You're going to have a good day. Next hole though, another good one. Water hazard on the right, so you need to be very careful about hitting a slice here. But a lot of slope from back to front. It looks like it goes a little bit to the left too, so if you can hit that back and let it roll up, it'll actually be in a pretty good spot. About 130 from here, so about 130, 125 from there. I'm gonna go with a 48 degree. That's right at it, maybe a little right. Oh, I hit the damn tree. Like coming down at it, hit the tree. Man. Right. So I'm hitting a sand wedge here. That first shot clipped this tree above us. I completely lost any extra distance I was getting. Probably would have landed just in front of green here. But it's got a good amount of slope coming at me, so this is gonna just be like a little punch shot. Almost, just a choppy one like I've been saying all day. And just try to get it up there nice and close. Well, that'll do. Caught a little off the toe. But, you know, this, like I said, this rough can be pretty rough from time to time. A little uphill putt here. Right to left a tad. Looks like my target line is like, let's see, maybe at 2 degrees to like this area. Yeah, like right in this area here. Well, that would have been a par. I had the target line, just a little bit too hot. A little toilet bowl. Love the toilet bowl action. 89 yards, playing 89. Pin looks center, maybe even front, so sand wedge. This tee box is a little messed up, so sometimes just back up and see if you can find a good green spot, but I'm just gonna take it right at this one. Oh my God, gap wedge? No, I don't want a gap wedge. I want a sand wedge. 89, just a full sand wedge, or I don't know. And I can do a 90% sand wedge to hit it 90 yards exactly. Not bad. Just left the pin. Might we get a birdie in on the very last hole? I'm hoping we do. Make up for that double at the very beginning. So this last hole, when I was putting it, the camera wasn't recording, but just want to tell you guys my experience on it real quick here. The video I had, I put it about where it was before, and obviously you're going to see me pull it to the right a little bit, but my first shot caught it a little bit off the heel, and it pulled hard towards that lake, like to the point where like it was probably an extra, like it was probably like 4 feet away, but it broke probably like 5 feet, where it looked like it was only going to break like maybe 6 inches. All right, guys, time for the final thoughts. A lot of par looks, 1 or 2 birdie looks, I think. But you know, it happens. That's a pretty good score for me. I think the lowest I've ever shot here was +6. But yeah, pretty good day. If you want to check this course out, it's Greenway Park Golf Course in Broomfield, Colorado. And then it's, I think, like $17 to play here, unless you can get a hot deal. Then it's like 10. But you can play a double. I think it's cheaper if you play a second round here right after you finish your first. So, all right, guys, welcome back to the studio. So now I'm going to be giving you our final review score. So, just a quick overview. We're going to give you 2 scores today. The first is the overall score of what we thought about the course. That includes things like the course condition, the clubhouse, the range, pace of play, and a couple other things that we'll get to when we're talking about that. And then the second score is an overall difficulty score. Now, for the overall general score, I don't want you to think about that as like, oh, this course is good, this course is bad. It's more just like what this course provides, and the condition score would probably tell you if it's good or bad. And then for the difficulty score, I understand that, you know, some people might want more difficult course versus like an easier course. So that's why I wanted to separate the two out. So, you know, you can kind of judge it based on what kind of course that you want. So starting off, we're going to go right into the condition of the course. So there's 4 categories for the condition. It was the tee box condition, the fairway condition, the green condition, and the trap condition. So for the tee box condition, it came out to a 3.6. This was just because a lot of the tee boxes that we walk up to had a lot of divots taken, which is kind of expected for a par 3 course. So that's probably a more average score that you'd find for a par 3. The fairway condition here, I gave it a 10. There was nothing wrong with these fairways at all. I was walking along, and I don't think I saw more than 2 divots the entire time I was there in the fairway. There was no messed up grass, no dry spots, no bare spots, nothing. It was beautiful fairway. So 10 out of 10 on that. The green condition came to a 7.9. Again, I didn't see anything wrong with the greens per se. They just seemed like they were a little bit on the slower side, so maybe that could suggest that they weren't maintained properly. But there wasn't any glaring issues where I saw any dry spots. It wasn't the best greens that I've ever seen. And finally, the trap condition. The trap came out to I gave it a 5, primarily because they weren't like beach sand soft, but they also weren't like concrete hard. And they weren't flooded or anything, so I felt like they were probably just a good average condition for a sand. So for the course condition overall, we took all 4 of those categories and averaged them out, and it came out to a 7.1. So the course condition on average about 7.1, so that's a little better than average than you'd find at your standard municipal golf course. I've been to a couple club courses, but those are usually a lot higher. But average municipal golf course is just a little bit better than average. So moving right along to the range. The range is graded on a scale of 1 to 10, and we came up with a 5. And the reason for this was that the condition was a little bit lower than average, primarily because there was only 2 spots to hit from. It was closed the day I was there, but I've hit off it before, and it's usually pretty beat up. And it's not super busy, but there's only 2 spots, so if there's more than 2 people on it, it's already capacity. So because of this, we just gave it a 5, average for its size, and I just felt like that was a good score to put it in. I didn't want to give it too much lower because it's not a bad range. You have spots to hit from, but it's not a long range, so just average for its size. So moving on to the golf shop. The golf shop is scored on a scale of 0 to 5, 0 if they didn't have one, 5 being the nicest golf shop I've ever been in. They ended up coming out with just a 1. The reason I gave this score is because they didn't really have like a golf shop actually. It was more of a back office where you just go to check in and you can buy tees and balls, but you couldn't buy golf equipment there, and you can't buy food or drinks. For the pace of play, this, based on the video, would probably have given it a 10, but since I've played there a number of times previously, I actually ended up giving it a 4. The other times that I've been there, it can get pretty backed up from time to time. It's a community golf course. There's a lot of newer golfers there, and it just, on the weekends during the main peak season, it just can slow down a little bit, especially at hole number 6, or not 6, hole number 7. Hole number 7 is the longest one on the course, and people only tend to make it halfway down sometimes, so it just slows it up even more. So the next category is golf carts. This is scored on a scale of 0 to 5. This golf course didn't have golf carts, so it got a 0. But normally I'll look at the seats, if it's got a GPS or not, and whether it has a restrictor. So like if you get too close to the green, it starts slowing down your golf cart. You can't turn around. It's just annoying. So I'll deduct points if they have that. The views on the course. So for the views, that's based on a scale of 1 to 10. I gave the course a 3, and that's just because it's in the middle of a neighborhood, like a lot of golf courses, but it's not like, maybe if it was in like $1 million houses, that might help out a little bit, but it's just an average neighborhood. It's not an ugly course by any means. They have nice, full-size, mature trees, and there's mountains in the background. That's typical for Colorado. But based off of some of the other muni courses I've been to, it wasn't like the prettiest course ever. Next category is the vibe. So for the vibe, I thought it was a very chill golf course. Every time that I've played there, it's been a good time. There's no marshal to like rush you if you are a slower player, and none of the community who plays there is they're not. All the times I've ever played with a random, they've always been super cool. I've brought in some beginner golfers there, and we finished without having anybody hitting into us or pushing us along. So I gave them, on a scale of 1 to 10, an 8. The reservation availability is just based on how easy it is to get a tee time there. It's scored on a scale from 1 to 5. I gave this course a 5 because I don't even know if you need a reservation to play here. To be honest, you could probably show up and just pay for a round and go play. They do have the online reservation system, but I use the reservation system more as a gauge to see if it's going to be busy or not. Like if you look at it like the day of or the day before and there's a whole bunch of tee times available, generally that means it's going to be not as busy, versus the opposite. If it's a lot of times are taken, it's going to be more busy. So the next category is one that I find pretty important: the bevy cart sighting. Bevy cart sightings are the amount of times that I see a bevy cart during a round. If I only see the bevy cart one time, I'm going to give it a lower score because I need to know if I need to buy a lot more drinks when she comes or if she's going to be out, pretty often. This course in particular didn't have one, so I gave it a 0, but in general it's going to be scored on a scale from 0 to 5. Course cleanliness. So for course cleanliness, it's just based off of, again, kind of opinion, but I go through the bathrooms, if there's trash on the course, if the clubhouse is clean, just kind of opinion based, like is it a nice clean golf course or is it kind of like messy, trashy looking. And I gave this course a 9. That's just based off of they have one bathroom on the course, and it's a porta potty next to the hole number 7 tee box. So I mean, a porta potty, it's not going to be as nice as a fixed place bathroom. So that's the only thing that really brought down the score. Everything else, it was very clean. Nothing Nothing I was like, oh, there's not litter anywhere. So, yeah, pretty good score for them. And then last but definitely not least, the cost versus the value. So I try to base this on the cost of the course for 18 and for the 9, the push cart rentals, the cost of drinks, cost of range balls, and the cost of just the cart rental. So because this course is just a 9, I based it only on the 9-hole peak time, which was $17. That's not the cheapest 9-hole course I've ever played, but it's definitely not like crazy expensive. So I gave it a 5, just an average score. And that would be out of 10. So the peak costs would be, 1 to 10. So that's 5. It's right in the middle. The pushcart rental was $5. I thought that was actually a little higher than it should be. So that was based on a score out of 2. So 2 being super cheap, 0 being like absorbent, and I gave it a 1. The cart rental, this course doesn't have carts, so I can't judge that. So that just gets a 0. For the range balls, they do have a range, but it was closed. So I can't judge if the range balls were expensive or not. So what I just did is I gave it a 1 for an average score, just assuming that it's probably not, absorbent. And then finally, the drinks. I couldn't buy drinks. So on a scale of 0 to 3, it got a 0. That's just because they don't have drinks, so I can't score it. So then you total all of these up, it comes out to 7 out of 20. And I gave the cost value a little bit higher weighting for the final score, just because I think that's pretty important when you're making the decision if you're going to go play a course or, you're in total enjoyment. If I paid, $300, I'm kind of going to be expecting a nicer course. So the final overall course score for Greenway Park, we got a 49.15. And that's a very average score for a par 3 golf course. And I think it totally deserves it. It's not a bad course at all. It's, it's not the best course ever, but it's, it's a small community golf course. It's kind of what you expect. I actually think that's a pretty good score for a community-owned golf course that's not, funded by, some kind of private ownership or even, the community, or it's not funded by the town, essentially. So I think that's actually a really, really good score for them. So moving on to the difficulty score. The difficulty score is based off of 7 different categories. This includes the fairway width, the length of the course, the difficulty of the rough, the difficulty of the traps, which is pretty dependent on the condition of the traps, actually. The terrain variability, so how much the fairway kind of varies. The elevation change, so if you're always constantly shooting uphill or downhill. The green speed, obviously, because that can be a make or break for somebody who's trying to learn to putt. That score is based. So I take all 7 of those scores, average them out, and then score it on a scale of 1 to 10. So a 1 being a super easy course, 10 being the most difficult course I've ever played. And that shouldn't be, don't judge that as it's a super easy course, it's bad. It's more just a gauge of, if you're looking for an easier course, if you're looking for a harder course, this will probably give you a good idea of where that would be. So starting off with the fairway width, I judged so for all these categories, I judged every single hole of all 7 categories and then averaged them all together to get this final score. For the fairway width, I got a 3.9, and that's a reverse score. So 3.9 is a much bigger fairway compared to a 10 fairway, which would be super narrow. The terrain variability, 1.67. It's super flat. There's no crazy movement. I mean, if you get into the fairways, in the roughs, you can get a little bit of variability, like coming down, or you'll see it on the first hole. Once you get past the green, it kind of slopes down. So there's a little bit of variability around the greens, but the fairways. So if you're short, or if you're short primarily, that you're not having to, shoot off of an awkward, lie where the ball's below your feet. Elevation change came out to a 2.7. That's just because there's, one or two holes that have a little bit of drops, particularly hole 2. I think it drops 16 feet. So you'll usually club down there, but it's just something that I like to keep track of because, some courses you're shooting uphill for the front 9 and then downhill the back 9. It's like I played up in the mountains one time, and like hole 9 was literally like a 60-foot drop into the fairway on a par 4. So the green speed, I thought these were slower than normal. I didn't ask them what the stimp score is because I don't think they keep track of that. But in future videos, I'm going to try to compare those to see, how close that I think it is to what it actually is based off of their measured speed. The rough difficulty, I gave it a little harder than average, so I gave it a 6. The grass is, it's not very tall, but it just seems to snag the face of your club. I think I mentioned that maybe 4 or 5 times in the video. So I just gave it a little bit harder score because of that. The length of the course, par 3, so 3. I think that's a pretty good score. There's one hole that's over 200 yards, so maybe it could have gone lower, but I've there's a course down the street from me that literally the longest hole is 80 yards, so it definitely is not the shortest course I've ever played, but the longest course I've ever played is over 7,000. So 3, I think 3 is pretty good, especially for a par 3. And then finally, the trap score, I gave it a 6, primarily because it was a little harder than average, as in compaction-wise. So, I feel like when you have a little bit harder trap, softer traps I generally feel are a little bit harder to hit out, but, that's a learning thing, where with a harder trap, you got to, pick it off a little bit more, so it can be a little bit more difficult, especially when you're a more experienced golfer. It's like with the softer trap, you can smack the shit out of the sand and it's going to go probably where you want. Where the harder one, you got to pick it out, and you can't really judge the distance coming out of a harder sand as well. So, taking these 7 categories, averaging them out again, the difficulty score came out to a 3.9. So definitely an easier course. I would say a pretty good difficulty for a par 3, especially for a beginner golfer. I've played a couple par 3s that are much more difficult. The back 4 or 5 holes are all over 200 yards. And this one's not like that. They're, when a lot of the holes require nothing more than a gap wedge or a sand wedge, it's kind of hard to make it much harder than that. And I think that'll do it for the 2 scores. So we got an overall course score of a 49 and an overall difficulty score of a 3.9. So saying all that, who is this course good for? I mentioned it before. I really think this course is good for beginner golfers. The vibe is super chill. Difficulty is not too hard. So if you're a beginner golfer looking to get into golf, I would recommend checking out this course. Maybe even talking to some of the locals who are playing there. They may give you some pointers. Everything there is super helpful if you just, most of the time. A lot of younger kids there too, though. So just an FYI, if you're going, you might get stuck behind a group of high schoolers. So I've had that happen one time. But yeah, so great course. Go check it out. Again, it's Greenway Park Golf Course in Broomfield, Colorado. And if you like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button, throw us a like, share it out to your buddy, and check us out next time. All right, see ya.